Hey, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday Tips to Unleash Your Amazing. How is everybody doing on this beautiful Tuesday? Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about DISC, which is our behaviors. DISC is how we prefer to communicate, and a little bit about driving forces, which is our motivators. Like, why do we get out of bed each day? I was looking at some statistics, and it talks about like how disengaged employees are. And this is a study that was done back in 2018 through Gallup, employee engagement, and the report is in 2018, and it said 34% of U.S. workers are actively engaged. So only 34% of workers are actively engaged. 13% are actively disengaged, and 53% are not engaged. And I think about that, and I think about how does that actually translate to our own relationships, with the divorces being really high and friendships and challenges in life. What does that really mean? So employee engagement, what does that mean for you? So there's at least a 70% variance in team engagement, which is usually explained by the quality of the manager or the leader of the team. And let me tell you, I have worked for some really crappy bosses, and so I could see how that could really lead to lack of engagement. And I know that we all have our own personal responsibility inside of that. But I think that as companies and business leaders, it's also important for us to understand ourselves and understand our teams. But understanding how to communicate better always starts within, it starts with ourselves. So on average, most Americans switch jobs every 2 to 3 years. And 40%, the studies talked about 40% of the workforce would be freelance by 2020. Now, I think with COVID, it's probably even higher. I think a lot of more people ended up changing jobs and becoming more remote workers or starting their own business in 2020 with the layoffs and the frustration with it. But I think that this information that I'm going to share with you today is still very relevant, not only for businesses, but also for your personal relationships. So teams are measured, if you think about an iceberg, DISC or your behaviors is what you see. It's above the surface. DISC is an observable language of communication. You can actually kind of see how people tend to communicate more just by watching them, in their mannerisms, the things that they drive, things that are important to them. But your driving forces, that's down deeper. It's like what's below the surface. That's what sinks ships. It's what sunk the Titanic. And so understanding both about yourself and if you have a team, about your team. And if you have, if you're a family leader, understanding that about your family is also really important. I got to tell you that understanding this and learning about DISC and driving forces has been huge for my own family. So today, I want to teach you some of the basics of these tools so that you can learn to observe your team's behaviors and start to define maybe your culture. So DISC, as I said, is the universal language of how we do what we do. It's how we prefer to communicate. So the D stands for dominance. It's how we respond to problems and challenges. Your I is influence. It is how you influence other people to your point of thinking. The S is steadiness. It's how you respond to the pace of the environment. And then C is compliance. It's how you respond to rules and regulations that are set by other people. And so we all have a varying degree of all of these characteristics that make up the acronym DISC, just depending on, some of us are going to have more of that dominance where we like to solve problems and challenges, and other of us we're going to need more time to solve problems and challenges. there is no right or wrong behavioral style. We just are who we are. And so understanding that is equally important. So as we start going through some of these definitions, I want you to start thinking about your team or the people in your life and see how you can kind of start to recognize them. So a high D, high dominance, in observation, they're going to be faster talking, more task problem solving. The D is looking for results. So when you're communicating with them, you want to make sure that you're talking about business first and sharing about results, getting to the point, not a lot of chit chat. Their ideal environment is freedom from control and supervision and details. They tend to be very innovative, and they like an environment where they're evaluated based on the results that they can provide. So their body language would look maybe more like forward-leaning, hands in the pocket. They're going to walk fast. They're always looking to go somewhere. They're very busy people. And now your I, the influencer. In an observation, they're also going to be very fast-paced, but they're going to be more people-orientated. And so they're going to be very friendly, tell lots of stories. They love lots of interaction. And so an ideal environment for them would be one that has a high degree of people contact, and they want to be able to establish a network of contacts where they can interact regularly. So COVID would be a little harder on your higher I's because they're not getting the engagement and the people that they really need. So finding ways to engage with them would be really important. Some of their overextensions when they're under stress would be that they could appear very disorganized. So their stance might look a little bit like their feet spread apart, hands in their pocket, or I don't know, like they're usually talking with their hands, very animated, waves a lot, very people focused. And again, they tell lots of stories. Your S, steadiness. They're going to be more slower paced, people orientated, relating. And what you want to remember with the S is you have to give them time to add your task to their list because they need time to do their best work. And when they're rushed, it really seems to stress them out. So giving them additional time whenever you need help on a project will get you better results in the end. So the S is looking for stability. And this is, again, how somebody responds to the pace of the environment that they're in. Their ideal environment is very stable and predictable, where they can have long-standing relationships, and they prefer a situation where change comes gradually. So their stance might be more leaning back, hands in their pockets. They're going to have more of a steady, easygoing pace, and their gestures will be more moderate. They're going to be more laid back. And so your C, you're compliant. These are your rule followers. You need to give them lots of facts. They're going to be more slower paced and task orientated. And so their ideal environment will be to thrive in a environment that requires critical thinking and analysis. So they prefer scenarios where there's not a lot of noise. So if you have a high C in your office environment, they may need their own private office in order to get the best work out of them, because the distractions of people popping in can really tend to stress them out. And so let's talk a little bit about the different driving forces. So there's 12 driving forces, and this is based on the original motivators, which is the utility, which is resourceful versus selfless. And so resourceful people, they want to obtain practical results, eliminate waste, and they want to be compensated based on performance. Where the opposite of that is somebody that's very selfless, and that means that they're going to work on unrestricted projects. They're going to check off all the boxes, complete the tasks, and act more spontaneous, but they don't really need a personal return on the investment of their time. They just want to make sure that all of the boxes are checked at the end of the day. So under the knowledge category, you have instinctive versus intellectual. So instinctive people will make decisions based on their intuition. They like to learn on demand. So that Google is their best friend. They like to apply past knowledge, versus people that are more intellectual. They're going to increase knowledge. So they're going to be continuously learning about things. They might be more apt to go take a course and enroll in college. They're definitely lifelong learners. So giving them opportunities to keep learning in the environment will be really important. And they can objectively analyze ideas because they're going to gather all the information they need to make a really good decision. Under your surroundings, you have objective versus harmonious. So objective people, they can really compartmentalize. So they can work in complete chaos as long as things are very functional for them. They like to provide tangible outcomes, and they make decisions based on data. Where harmonious people, they really appreciate beauty and balance in their surroundings. They're going to need more of a pretty atmosphere to be in. They're going to need more time off. They're going to appreciate balance in their environment and time with their family to go on, see the ocean and things like that. They like to express their imagination. Under others, which is about other people, you have people that are intentional versus people that are altruistic. So intentional people, they will be very purposeful with the people that they help. And they're going to rely on themselves, and they're going to develop strategic partnerships. Where people that are altruistic, they will support humanitarian causes, like to participate in charitable events, and they like to eliminate conflict. Under power, you have collaborative versus commanding. So collaborative people love to work on team projects and get outside opinions, feel included, and connect with the team. Where people that are commanding, they like to obtain status symbols, awards, and public recognition is very important to them. They want to pursue advancement opportunities and create and control their own destiny. Okay, so under methodologies, you have receptive people versus structured people. Receptive people will question unnecessary protocols, create new systems, and think outside of the box. Now, if you have a high D that is also highly receptive, they could want to keep changing things up. So understanding, if this is you, that sometimes the system that you've had could be the best system. Don't always have to change it. Now, considering that I am also high D and have this receptive, this is something that I do struggle with. Structured people, they like to protect their beliefs, seek consistency, and fit within a structure. And if you've heard somebody say, we have always done it this way, they are probably structured. So understanding that sometimes it's good to change things up, and other times it's important to stay consistent and do things the way that has been successful in the past is also really important when you're building a business and building relationships. So understanding and defining your team or the people in your lives, what matters to them, why is this really even important? Hi, Larry. Well, it's important because we all are unique and individual. And when we can understand other people's perspective and their point of view and what matters to them, then we can really build and leverage our relationships in a much more impactful way, not only for ourselves, but for society in general. When we can understand where other people are coming from and what matters to them, what matters down deep inside, how they prefer to communicate, then we can alleviate a lot of misunderstandings and stress. So I provide an amazing assessment. This is a 60-page report that really tells you all about who you are, your own perspective of things, how other people might perceive you, how you prefer to communicate, how you're motivated, and it's really eye-opening, let me tell you. The first time I took it, I was like, no, that's not me. But over the years, as I've taken it and really leaned into my own self-awareness and self-development, I've really embraced it and understood that, I am who I am, but it's also important that I understand who other people are and I can communicate with them in different times to make them more comfortable and create more win-win situations. So if you would like to have more information on how you could take that assessment, please message me or comment. I'd like to take the assessment below. Would love to help you to understand yourself better and help you to really smash your goals. Hope you're having a fabulous week, and I look forward to seeing you soon. To all my Kansas City friends, I will be in Kansas City in May, and I hope to be able to get together. Bye.